Watch a beginner step onto the mat, and you'll see a relentless drive to accumulate. They focus on stacking on more speed, more power, and more complex combinations, believing that a larger arsenal makes for a better fighter. This instinct usually backfires. Attempting to force dominance through sheer volume creates physical and mental chaos. When a fighter prioritizes aggression over composure, their strength loses its foundation and becomes a liability. Bruce Lee approached the problem from the opposite direction. He realized that a master-level fighter isn't built by adding new layers, but by stripping them away. His core philosophy focused on hacking away the unessential. He looked for the most direct path to a target, which meant identifying and removing every wasted motion and every rigid thought that slowed a fighter down. To Lee, the path to mastery was a search for what could be discarded. The goal wasn't to learn more techniques, but to find the few that actually mattered. The first obstacle to discard is the ego. A beginner is often paralyzed by the need to look good or the fear of losing face during training. When a fighter is obsessed with winning every sparring session, they stop taking the risks necessary for growth. Dissolving those layers of pride allows the mind to return to a stable, observant core that can actually process what's happening in a fight. This same logic applies to the physical body. Beginners often mistake high-effort, high-speed movement for effectiveness. Lee's training focused on efficiency over raw effort. He demonstrated that moving as fast as possible is useless if that speed is generated through wide, telegraphing motions that give your intentions away. By removing the exaggerated wind-ups and unnecessary steps, a fighter develops a shorter, cleaner strike. The attack becomes harder to see and nearly impossible to stop because it travels the shortest distance possible. Real power emerges when the mind is still and the body stops fighting against its own wasted energy. Next, a fighter must let go of rigid loyalty to any single traditional style. Dogma provides a sense of security, but it also creates blind spots. Lee prioritized what worked in a live environment over what looked correct in a kata. He encouraged students to question every tradition, keep the techniques that proved effective in a real exchange, and discard anything that existed only for the sake of ceremony. This requires a total lack of pride. A fighter who believes they have reached the end of their education has simply stopped evolving. The final thing to remove is the reliance on being inspired or motivated to show up. Motivation is a luxury that disappears when training becomes difficult. Mastery is built in the unglamorous moments when nobody is watching and progress feels slow. A fighter who has stripped away the need for excitement survives on discipline alone. They train because it is their objective reality, not because they feel like it. When you finally remove the ego, the wasted effort, the rigid dogma, and the need for emotional validation, what is actually left? You are left with pure adaptability. Lee's be like water philosophy is a physical description of this state. By removing every internal obstacle and every preset habit, the fighter stops resisting the opponent and starts flowing around them. This process of subtraction leads to a specific kind of self-discovery. Lee wasn't trying to produce clones of himself. He was trying to help students find their own mechanics. Every person has a different reach, a different center of gravity, and a different temperament. When you stop trying to fit into a standard style, you are forced to rely on what actually works for your specific body. Hacking away the unessential reveals how you, and you alone, move. Ultimately, you don't train to become someone else. You train to remove the noise until the only thing left is your own honest expression of movement.